Welcome to ExE, the Engineer Cross Entrepreneur podcast. Our mission is to help stuck engineers become the superhuman entrepreneurs they need to succeed. I'm Ted Lai, your fellow stuck engineer, and I'm joined by my co-host, Richard Bowling. In this episode, you'll be getting to know us, who we are, and why this podcast exists. So without further ado, let's get started. So, Richard, I was envisioning this episode as just really an introduction for our viewers or listeners to get to know us and get to know what this podcast was all about. And as the title is called, the Engineer to Entrepreneur Transformation, I thought that a great way to start would be to start from you. I would like for you to be able to share with the listeners about your journey and your transformation from an engineer to an entrepreneur.
Thanks, Ted. Yeah, I think my journey began being an engineer, having a bachelor's and a master's degree, working with some large corporations back in the late 90s, actually, quite a while ago. I had a bachelor's and a master's in electrical engineering, was designing computer chips and then cell phones. And then I just felt like the engineering design work that I was doing was basically the same. It was copy and paste and manage the details. And it wasn't very innovative. It wasn't very interesting. It wasn't very creative. And coupled with that was a burning desire to get back to my passion of table tennis. This was my roots. And so what I did is I made a bold leap in December of 1999. I jumped fully into the entrepreneurial journey, launching lots of small table tennis companies, developing products, doing tournaments and leagues, doing consulting, designing my own table tennis robot, but actually was my breakout because all of those business ideas, the thing that actually took off well was the table tennis robot idea, working with somebody to help me get that launch into the market. And that ended up generating 8 figures in sales revenue, which was pretty amazing. But along that journey was very ugly because what happened is when I left that corporate job and jumped into entrepreneurship, I didn't have any guidance. I didn't know anything like a business coach or things like that. I'm trying to figure out the journey entirely by myself. And it was an ugly 5 years of burning through my savings, the stress, and all of that. And so the reason why I started this coaching business is that I know that there are a lot of engineers that are out there trying to become entrepreneurs. And I know that if they don't get the support, most likely it's not going to happen. It wasn't until I started working with coaches that things started to turn around for me. And so my passion today, many years later, is helping engineers to think about their business ideas and to develop not just the business acumen, but the personal development that's required to actually become a superhuman entrepreneur, an extraordinary entrepreneur. And it's a transformative journey. We work on things in this coaching program that you don't even get from an MBA program because the core of what we do is all about execution. Execution is the core of entrepreneurship, and it's an experiential journey that you have to get from the guidance from mentorship.
I'd I'd like to hear more about your journey. So you said it took you 5 years to have that breakout business. Is that right? And so it wasn't like you had an idea for the the I don't know what you call it, the tennis robot that you had designed. It wasn't like you were working for the big corporation. Was it Motorola at the time? I think
It was Ericsson. It
it was
was Ericsson,
Ericsson.
wasn't
Ericsson. And so it wasn't that you were working at Ericsson and you had this idea for this great table tennis robot, and so you left to build this robot, and it made you $8 million in revenue. That wasn't the story.
it? No, that wasn't the story. I mean, what happened? Actually, the robot idea I had designed even previously back in college. And so from the time that the table tennis robot idea started until the time it got launched was actually
Oh
about
wow,
20 years.
wow.
Sitting in my on testing, building different models, didn't have the confidence to work on the patenting, the manufacturing, and I just kept putting it. And while I had that on the side, I had these other table tennis ideas, business ideas. I had built a community of a few hundred people who became my first clients to sell products to do coaching events, things like that. And I had lots of different small business ideas in the world of table tennis. And uh, so anyway,
It
you
sounds
know,
like you
but
had
it,
a lot of growth during that time. There's like
well,
those 5 years outside of the
right.
corporate
You,
world.
I
It's
would
like,
say I would say growth is a good word, but from the outside, it just looks like a lots of failures because I'm touching lots of things, but I'm not generating the type of revenue that I made as an engineer. I'm still, burning through some savings. Had gone through a divorce, moving around, and it was actually kind of an ugly, messy journey. And there's some of that's associated entrepreneurship, figuring out, but it's really ugly when you don't have a system, when you don't have support. I knew growth was a part of the journey, so I was reading lots of books um, about how to up level my own personal development, which has got me into understanding the personal development that's required for entrepreneurship. Because if you look at all high level entrepreneurs, they have a set of internal processes that help them to make decisions, to take the action, to continue to execute like they need to. And that's the core of what entrepreneurship is about. It's really about how to execute at the highest levels.
so
And
I guess if you were to put that entrepreneur mindset, like a perfect entrepreneur mindset at 100%, what percentage were you at in that transformation when you finally got your break on the table tennis robot?
that's a good question. I mean, even today, being an entrepreneur for 20 years, I feel like I still need to be growing right now. So I definitely it's not 100%. Um, I would say from the time that I got started, let's say my entrepreneur mindset, if it was, let's say, at 10%, I think when I got the breakthrough, it might have gone from 10 to maybe 50 or 60%. Still lots of room to grow, but a big difference from before. Um, but I mean, the main thing is anytime you're trying to push a business idea forward, you need part of really solid business mentorship, that's helping you with the marketing plan and all the different details on the business side. And you also need someone who's helping you on the performance and the execution side. You need to have both of those things together. And so that's the key. So like if you go to an academic or an MBA in entrepreneurship, they're only giving you the business strategy, but they're not giving you the execution side, which is actually the most important piece of the puzzle.
It's
Yeah,
it's like
ultimately entrepreneurship.
emotional marketing is emotional management of other people, and execution is emotional management of yourself.
Right, because momentum is the core of entrepreneurship. How do you maintain momentum from week to week, from month to month, from year to year? And if you're not making the best decisions, you're not taking the most powerful actions. So momentum is absolutely the key to entrepreneurship. And the things we live in an information age where there are no secrets to hack a sales funnel or marketing copy or specific strategies. Everybody knows those things, but to tie those together, to dial in the nuances, you have to have the support of a team, an environment, a system, and without that, entrepreneurship by itself is already hard when you look at statistics. So without that support, it's
Some yeah,
really
some kind of environment. Yeah. Um,
some kind of environment. And even for me today, many years of entrepreneurship, I know that it's the number one thing that I need to continue from where I am to the next step in the journey. And
you know how in breakfast cereal, they have to tell you, it's like they legally have to tell you in the ads that it's not a complete breakfast. It's just part of a complete breakfast. So I that's how I feel about this podcast, right? We're providing a breakfast cereal amount of entrepreneurship environment for everyone because I think we need it as a society, as a species. We need to have that entrepreneurship spirit, and it can't happen in a vacuum. So this podcast is the breakfast cereal of that complete breakfast. You got to have, in that big, when they zoom out, you see the orange juice and milk and bacon and eggs and toast. It's like, who's gonna eat all of that? Anyways, that's the idea behind this podcast, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, that's a great analogy, and we're really just giving you a taste to really dive into the meal. It's really just a taste, just a sliver. Absolutely. So Ted, tell me about your journey and how you get started in entrepreneurship, and what was your motivation for considering an alternative to your career path professionally?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, like everyone else, I've always had. Well, actually, I don't know if that's true. I imagine, like everyone else, I have these little ideas, throughout your life, throughout your day. I was like, oh, this would be a good idea for a business. Oh, yeah, why don't you tie the tissue box to your body? Then you'd have tissues all the time. Ideas for inventions, right? But so many engineers go into engineering for a safe job, um, stability, and there's that other class of engineers who go and become engineers because they want to be inventors, they want to create things. And I wasn't getting that at my corporate job, right? It's a similar situation. And I think what really kick-started me, got me going, was fatherhood. And at one point, when my boys were even littler than they are now, I started writing a book. Um, I was already working on my self improvement journey, and I thought, what would I be most upset about if I died today? It's like, well, then there would be no one to parent my kids. So I wanted to write a book about who I was and my ideas and things like that, and things to pass down, right? Ideas and lessons to pass down. And the problem is, once I started writing it, I realized that I could only fill about half a page to a page. There wasn't much to say. I had lived such a safe life of, I don't know about, I don't know if I'd call it doing what other people told me, but just always taking the safe choice rather than the choice that really um, allowed me to make the impact that I wanted to make, or to express myself in the way I wanted to express myself. And at that point, I realized that I really had to go outside of the corporate environment and set out and be able to make my own choices and live my own adventure so that I would have something to write about. Because in the end, what I wrote for my kids, it was like half a page, and then after that, all I had left was book recommendations. And I don't think that's good enough. I don't think that's convincing. um, we have to be able to tell stories from our own personal experience for them to be impactful.
I think that's a beautiful description of why you want to become an entrepreneur. And I can resonate with that totally because when I was in the corporate world, I felt like I was suffocating in complacency. And having just bought a brand new house, two beautiful cars, garage, four-bedroom house, had 401k growing out of control. And I was the most depressed in my entire life at that instant because I had all the material things without the adventure, without the purpose, without the passion, all of those things. And suffocating in complacency, I think and I knew that the corporate path wasn't going to take me there. So that's a really great reason. And Russell Brunson, who is the founder of ClickFunnels, he has an exercise where you write your eulogy, right? You actually write your eulogy, and you did a kind of a similar thing. What's the legacy that I want to leave? I want to fill up a page of content and inspire my kids and maybe other people as well. And so, yeah, I think you kind of did a similar exercise, and I think and that's one of the things that I can say about my journey is that, and had some success with this product, but of course, not a unicorn uh, by any means. But I can say that it's been the most thrilling chapter of my life being an entrepreneur. from the outside, you can say up and down, crash and burns, lots of changes, but without a doubt, it's been truly adventure. Actually, I created two documentary films that were talking about different parts of the journey um, from that. So yeah, that's a great reason I would say to be entrepreneurship, the impact that you can make in the world, the money that you can make, of course, but just for the pure adventure and personal growth aspect of it that you may not get in the corporate environment.
Yeah.
So that's and so even when you started, you had, because I met you to invite you into the micropod program, and you probably had some doubts and hesitations about if it was for you, should you get started, right? So how
Hmm.
did what was the single most thing that like took you over the edge and said, okay, I got to do this? What was there any defining moment that
I wish there was something inspirational that I could say. Um, I think it was one. I trust Richard. I've talked to Richard over a course of time, and I know him well enough that I trust Richard. And if I don't sign up now, he's going to raise his prices. that was that was what got me into the micropod. In fact, there was somebody I was talking to who was in a similar space as you. He was coaching engineers how to move further in their career, not necessarily entrepreneurship. And I was telling him about you and that and about my fear of that if I don't take this opportunity now and grow, you know I'm not going to be able to afford Richard later, and I'll have to go someplace else. And he said, you know what, you're actually absolutely right. His prices are probably just going to go up, and that was the voice I needed to hear. It's like, yo, you know what? All right, it's time to go. Let's get started.
and the prices actually did go up
And they
considerably.
did,
So
they did.
and they did go. But one of the things that I remember you mentioned at the time of your start is that I really want to grow. You know, I think that was one of the things that you mentioned, which is what your business grows as you grow. In entrepreneurship, and there's many entrepreneurs that have talked about that. And if you're not continuing to grow, your business won't grow. So just like a company has to innovate in order to continue to live, an entrepreneur has to grow because you have to think differently. You have to move. You have to move faster. You have to get out of your comfort zone. You have
and
to grow.
and what I love about that is that it mirrors the human condition. I think that's why, like, even though you had everything that you could want material wise, and same as me, in our corporate jobs, um, we weren't growing, right? And that is something that humans need to do to feel well. And
Yes,
entrepreneurship, thankfully, is the in a way the perfect avenue for that, because you are growing. You're growing every day, and you're learning, and you're changing, and you're adapting.
that's true. And there's a quote out there. I'm not sure. I forgot who said it. But it's entrepreneurship is the perfect growth engine. You know, and that's one quote. And another quote is, if you're not growing, your business will die. Um,
Two sides, same coin.
yeah, two sides of the same coin. So absolutely growing in knowledge and skill, but also in performance and execution, and just tapping into the things that are in your blind spots, the things that are holding you back, whether it's leadership or perfectionism or management or productivity or whatever those things are, dialing the nuances of all those areas to grow. And when you start growing, you realize there's no end. And as long as you've been on the journey, even for me today, I know that I need to continue to grow on, and I see lots of room for growth, even in my own journey, which is why I can relate to my client's journey because I'm still I'm a mentor and a guide, but I'm also I need support, I need coaches, I need mentorship, I need that support as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, awesome. I'm looking forward to our continued conversations about growth and all of those aspects that you were talking about. Um, what are some ideas that you think that we should do for future episodes, just kind of as a preview for our listeners. For me, I think the next episode should be, what is the first thing an engineer should do when they start their journey?
That's a great question, and I think the answer to that is
Well, don't answer it yet. We'll save it for next time.
well, I think is talking about all the things that they need to do to get ready, the steps that they need to do to get ready on the journey. And what I would like to do, in the podcast, which I think is helpful, is actually give away secrets. Actually, give them, these are the 3 secrets to get started. We're gonna, doing a podcast. And the reason why is, 1, so they can start thinking about it. 2, because as much secret that you give away, they will still need the support to actually execute it.
Yeah. 100%.
Things I've noticed from other coaches and experts that are out there is that they here, these are the secrets. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Not how.
All right.
They know.
Yeah. So then I'm looking forward to it. So come back and listen to the next episode, because we are giving all of our secrets away.
All of our secrets away.
Giving all our secrets away. I should have queued up that song for the end, but I've got this instead. All right, let's go ahead and end this episode. That's a wrap for this episode. To find out more about Richard's superhuman engineer entrepreneur training, you can head on over to micropodglobal.com. The first thing you should do there is sign up for a free 30-minute consultation with the man himself. For more about Ted's focus training tool, head on over to mindsmithy.com. We welcome your comments and questions on YouTube. You can find the episodes and more at our handle ExE Entrepreneur, or youtube.com/@EngineerXEntrepreneur. It's time to go get 'em. We're rooting for you.